Guys, Dib the Awesome here to give you yet another exciting Monster Legends guides where I talk about monsters, moves, rune sets, partners, all that jazz. Today we are taking a look at Hornet, the upcoming token quest monster in Monster Legends. Now, if you don't know what a token quest monster is, essentially throughout 2 weeks you go and collect tokens through either through the trailers, various activities such as the trailers, dungeons, usually challenges too, and breeding events. That's how you can usually get them. They also will have it sometime in mazes too. By the end of that though, you'll already have everything, so it's usually not the main place to get them, but it's there. Anywho, Hornet is incredible. And every token monster, by the way, every token monster up to this point so far has been kind of really good in a way. I think the only one that's an exception, I guess Dunra, no, I'm not saying Dunra is bad, but this has been up since Dunra. Ever since Dunra came out, every single token quest monster has been good in some form of capacity, meta good. I think the only exception is Hyperia, even though he has Mega Taunt. That's the only real good thing about him. His moveset's just terrible. So, this monster is incredible. Why is this monster incredible? For several different reasons, and we'll get to them throughout this entire video. First, the base stats. What are his base stats, Dib? The base stats are 33,779. Pretty awesome life power, given the fact that this thing is kind of running full speed. So to have the more life plus tenacity shield is really, really, really nice. The power is 3,157. That's fine. As you can see here, he does no base damage, so this power might as well be 0. I don't even know why they even slapped a power. This thing could be 0 power and it'd still be good, because it has no damaging skills. It doesn't even have a power. I don't know why they just put a number there. It has no damaging skills. It has none. Everything's percent base, which is really good. That's one of the reasons why it's really, really good. Again, we haven't gotten too in depth into it, but we're getting there, one step at a time. Speed, 3,608. Holy tamale, is this thing fast. This thing is lightning fast. It's just only outsped by Mercurius, and no one uses Mercurius anymore. That thing stopped seeing use ever since Anticipation went out. Come on, guys, let's be real there. So theoretically speaking, this is the fastest thunder monster in the game at the moment, because no one uses Mercurius. Mercurius is just not a monster used anymore. So I like to think this is the fastest thunder monster, competitively speaking. Really, in terms of actuality, it's not, but competitive, yeah, it is. It's fast. It's faster than the Ibuki. It's crazy good. It's crazy fast. Nice. Relics. Oh, we'll go on to traits in a bit, which are really, really good. But relics, okay, real quick, we have to. Banner, baby. Banner, my boys and gals. And this is really, really awesome. Banner is a really good relic to have, because you can hold Invar's banner or recharging banner. So basically, stamina out the window. No stamina draining tactics will work on you. You always have a good amount of stamina to work with. Stamina draining, garbage against you. Doesn't work against his team. He doesn't care. He'll give all of his team his stamina back with his banner. Really nice. In any case of war where you're having a stamina heavy AoE kind of situation, it does not matter. You'll always go first after the opposing monster and refresh all your stamina. Doesn't matter in the slightest. Really, really, really nice. Plus, Invar's banner always makes everything immortal. And I didn't talk about the other one, Relics. Relics is already good as enough as it is too, in terms of a self-sustaining sense, because it gives your monster access to healing mask, good for restoring your life, self-wise, and stamina recovery mask. Plus, you can also hold tenacity. There's also a tenacity mask now, so he can also have tenacity shield. That's crazy. That's amazing. So he has access to tenacity. He has access to healing masks. He has access to Invar's banner, which gives everyone life and stamina. Once anyone hits below, I think it was 50%. Heals everyone's life and stamina, so it's just great. His recovery is amazing. It's just absurd. That, and given the rank 1 skill, at rank 1, not one skill, I mean rank 1 trait, it has an evolving trait. And at rank 1, it gets area dodge. At 0, it gets hardened, that's not important, just It just has Arden to do. Arden's garbage. That's not really what you look into here. Rank 1, it gets area dodge. So basically, nothing really works on it. Like, in terms of a non-conventional, an 80 conventional sense, nothing works on it in terms of an area scaling. So you avoid area mega stuns, AoE stuns, just AoE deny in general. Deny does not work on you. When you have area dodge, no area skill works on you. You're just immune to all the damage, all of the effects, unless they have Pierce on their side. Pierce is a recently new buff where regardless if the enemy or, ally, whatever the situation is, has their taunt trait. If the opposing side has Pierce, they can go through their taunts and evasions and all that annoying buff stuff that prevents you from getting anything done. Because Pierce does that. Pierce goes through any defense mechanism in the game. Shields, doesn't matter. Relics, I do believe that doesn't matter either. It just goes through everything. It's great. So, not only does it have that, it also has, at rank 3, it has self-skill, self-cast anticipation. This means when any monster does an extra turn skill, he gets a turn immediately after that. Given the fact this thing has area dodge, it does not matter if the enemy gets the attacker gets a turn, an extra turn, does like an area skill. He cannot hit, your Hornet. He has to kill the opposing, your taunt monster, whatever your taunt monster is, because you should be running a taunt monster with area dodge monsters. It should always be like 2 area dodge plus a taunt. It's always nice. Or you could go double taunt area dodge. It just depends on your playstyle. But if you do have that, they can't engage you with an area. They can't focus you out, and they can't hit you with whatchamacallit. They can't hit you with single target skills until they kill the taunt monsters. One of the popular ways to get over the area dodge and taunt, this is real quick, really quick. The fact this thing gets anticipation is a big deal. It's a very big deal because it's a great counter to Thalassa. Phenomenal counter. Because regardless if Thalassa goes for its single target trait disable on your Megaton, let's say in war, you have like one Megaton, Thalassa goes for the removal, he can immediately remove the play. Like, he immediately stops the play from happening, which means Thalassa cannot engage the situation. And even if Thalassa goes for like, another extra turn too, passes it to another character, he'll get another turn too, because again, you still have the anticipation up. Anticipation should probably last 2 or 3 turns, and so that's really good. That's phenomenally good. So it doesn't even matter if the enemy goes first, if it's a monster that relies on like extra turn plays after their main deny setup, or just that's their main setup, like that's the main beginning play. You cannot have any extra turn monster go if you're going against this thing. This thing will counter it. If it's rank 3, it will counter your initial play. It just has so many remove effects. This thing does have a lot of support-based skills. It itself doesn't really have a deny in the sense of like freezes or stuns, but it does something better than that. It does total blind and blind. So it can just clear out any play. It's just really good at rank 3. It's just dumb. And it just prevents the Sammys, it prevents the Lassas, it just prevents anything that, double turn, extra turn setup, or just disable extra turn setup, Talos, it doesn't matter. Whatever the initial play was that disables traits or whatever, he can go immediately after you've done that and just clear up that play. The play is just gone. It doesn't work anymore. Hasta la vista, bye. Love ya, see ya next holiday season. Be sure to bring the milk and cookies next time, because you already brought me the extra grande cookie. Yeah, that's pretty much Hornet's reaction to that. They're really nice, really great. Skill groups 1, I kind of want to go over each one. Normally I don't do this, but I like to talk about each advantage. The first one is revised and lubricated. What is the name? What's your name must move? Behold my ultimate technique revised and lubricated. Why would you name that? But anyway, it removes all positive effects from itself, and then removes all negative stats effects from itself. I see the in the window. Social point. I see it. I see it. Hornet see it. Look at those abs. He sees it. I see it. I see the in the window. Anyways, this removes all the good stuff and all the bad stuff, plus it gives an extra turn to itself. This can be used to lower the cooldowns of your other skills. And being the fact that the immunities are on like 2-turn cooldowns, it doesn't really matter if you do the play, especially if you don't have anything on them, because you can always reapply control immunity and tortures to itself. Really, how I see this is if you have like curse or something on you. Too bad it still costs a stamina cost, but again, yeah. Oh, excuse me. I was just laughing so hard there. I guess I got a little. That was funny. Anywho, basically, if you have like something like, let's say you have like total blind or something that you normally couldn't do any offensive play, this resets you. Even though you lose your good stuff, he has skills that can apply good stuff again. It's not a big deal. He also has positive effect protection. Later on, we'll get more into detail to that later. But just so you guys know, this is used for mainly resetting him if anything bad happens, trait disable, whatever have you. Plus, it lowers the cooldown of all his other skills by 1. And he has a lot of good skills that have high cooldowns, and it lowers the stamina, lowers the cooldown cost over time. So you can just do more of that same stuff again. The 6K barrier removes 20% of life from an enemy, blinds the person twice, requires a cooldown of a single turn. Being the fact this is a drain scale, plus it blinds the person twice, so you basically guarantee blind someone. So they have a 50% chance less to hit you, so that's really nice. If they're not running true vision, this is really ideal. I'm not going to say it's a must-have skill to run, but certainly is an option. I think, to be fair, you run all 3 skill groups, 3 skills. We haven't talked about them, but you run all 3 of them. And then literally anything else at this point, you could probably give a good competitive standpoint of why you should run it. Or probably not all 3. You might run 2, for sure the first 2, and then the other, we'll get to it later, but just so you know, it's not a bad choice. Like any of these other choices, you could give a good, very good description of why you would run that as your final skill. And I wouldn't say you're crazy. Like, everything's good in a situation. That's just what this monster is. It's just good in any situation. So, removes 20% life from one enemy. Blinds twice. Great. Guaranteed 50% less accuracy for an enemy to hit you. Nice. Applies shock to one enemy, applies nanovirus to one enemy, 0 stamina cost, 0 cooldown. Why is this skill good, Dib? Why would I ever run this skill? This pretty much guarantees that one monster on your enemy team, on the condition they do not have a, self-removal, let's say if it's like a Voltaic or something, they cannot get any extra turns in with their extra turn skills, and they cannot get any goodies. It prevents them from getting any goodies, unless it's a condition where they have a extra turn skill that removes negative effects, and then applies the buffs, then they get to keep those. As stupid as that is, it's always been a thing, and it's always bothered me about nanovirus, but beyond that, they just can't get anything good. This has come in handy a lot. Nanovirus is pretty helpful, despite the shortcomings of it, like the disadvantage of it, because the disadvantage is they can get goodies if it's an extra turn that removes negative effects, then applies the buffs. That's always bothered me, always. Super light AR6N removes 40% of total life from one enemy, applies minor blind and shock to all enemies, requires a cooldown. I think you should run this skill because taking 40% of someone's life is total baloney. Just for the damage alone, this is a great skill. It doesn't matter what what his power is. If it's total damage reduction, again, none of these do actual damage. It's just total damage. It just drains a person's life by a total percentage. It's crazy. This is a really, really great skill. It's almost 50%. Plus the shocked, and if you have anything else up, that's pretty much over 50%. Like, let's say you're running Ugluk or Salute. That's additional damage. You've almost done half their life in a single swoop. That's pretty great. That's a pretty big deal, especially coming from the fact this thing isn't even the damage dealer. This thing is not a damage dealer, but it does damage. It's crazy. Minor blind is just a little bonus. Let's say you're running blind comps or daze comps. This is actually really annoying. It is extremely annoying. Like, let's say you're running Sunburn too, maybe a sunburn comp, like a Dragar, or a Dagdar, or it's like a light dragon monster that applies Sunburn to everyone. Combo that with this thing, and it's just good accuracy drop. It's crazy good. Smoked Helmet removes 20% life from one enemy, applies major damage reduction and blind to all enemies. This is basically, I hate your attacker, so here's this major damage reduction and the blind. So not only does your attacker miss half the time now, but they also deal less damage a lot now. It's that's what this skill translates to. As far as I'm concerned, this is the counter damage dealer, because I don't know, actually, I don't know if this is the 50% one, or if it's 100%, like if it's a 100%, I guess that would be total damage reduction. I think major is like 50, so they do half as much damage. I think that's pretty great, especially if you have like torture immunities up. I don't know if this is a must skill they have, but I think it's one of the obviously it goes in the alternative section, because it's dependent. I think it's dependent on the situation. If you know it's in a damage dealer, that's gonna mess your stuff up. It's gonna destroy your favorite TV, your boombox. You might want to bring this to say, here's my warranty protection. So yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think about the skill. Totally anti-damage skill, 100%. Removes all negative status effects from all allies, applies immunity to control and torture effects to all allies. Basically, what this skill translates to is you are immune to all basic control, and additionally, I don't know if it's added yet, but you will now be able to be immune to baby plus stop time now. I know that sounds crazy, but that was actually in the upcoming announcements and news of Monster Legends, and that's like, whoa. Craziness, right? So that can apply to stuff in the future, but for right now, that's pretty good. And to be immune to all tortures means you're also immune to curse, so you don't have to worry about being cursed. It also removes all negative effects. So even if you're like nanovirused, this clears it, plus applies those things. It's really, really good. This also is a good way to counter, again, extra turn, like trait disable, denier. This is exactly the reason why Thalassa can't do this like play. It's just because of this skill plus Satu Hati is the other one that removes negative effects. That's the only reason why she can't do it. It's because he has two skills that kind of remove that disadvantage play. As far as I'm currently concerned, as long as this thing's alive, trait disable is looking like it's going to be out there for at least for the initial beginning of the game. As long as he has anticipation up, he can always check that. That's really good. What else is there? Next skill, Satu Hatai, which we might as well talk about now. Removes all negative status effects from from all allies, and applies positive attacks protection to all allies. The obvious benefit to this is the fact that you get to keep all your buffs. So if the other monsters can apply any self-buffs or anything else, whatever have you, except with Rossi God. With Rossi God's case, he removes everything. He'll even remove positive effects protection. Like, it's like there's no avoiding removing debuff, buffs from Rossi God's buff. I mean, his extra turn skill. So that's the only thing it doesn't cover. But beyond that, and Wormlast double removal, you just get to keep your stuff. This basically guarantees you get your life regen, stamina regen, without having to worry. Like, whatever you do, you're safe. Run this with like an Elvira comp, and the other two monsters get their evasion. So let's say if you are running like a Megaton, a Megaton comp, you are guaranteed to keep it, like 100%. You're able to keep your Megatons and whatever protections you have on the tank. That's crazy, right? Obviously, this doesn't work if, they removed it from the taunt first. But if you go before the enemy's monster and apply this, you do keep it at that point. So basically what this boils down to, if you go first, you are guaranteed to keep Megaton. If you are running Elvira or anything that gives you evasion at the beginning of the game, for sure. That's crazy. And let's say you're running like a monster that applies area evasion. Like that can be constantly reset, or like Gakora, for example, he can apply evasion. Let's say you're running that last monster is like a Dunra or like a Mephisto. you are guaranteed to not only keep, your Megatomp again, but you also get to keep evasion. Like, you don't take any damage. They can't do much. Again, the only counter to that really is Wormlad right now. He's the only one that double removes. That's crazy good. That's insane. It's crazy good. The only things that really bother again that point is that double removal plus like pure stuff. So this is insanely good. I'd say if there was like a fourth for sure skill you need to have, it's this skill. The skill is really, really nice given the what you can pair it up with. It is pretty great. Any monster that has triple damage to anything or just universally in general, let's say they have an anticipation monster that removes positive effects. If you are running, this thing, it prevents them kind of from removing that, and you're pretty safe for that turn. DP26 Syndrome removes 30% of total life from one enemy, removes positive effects from all enemies, and applies nanovirus to all enemies. This is another one of those, draining skills, draining total life from a single person. This is a really good support skill. I'd run this skill because it removes all goodies plus nanovirus. And another thing too, with all these area effects, like this doesn't really work. These don't really work against like monsters with area dodge. Let's say you hit an area dodge monster with the skill, it still doesn't work. Like the area effects will not proc on them. So if you get rid of their trait disable, that would be more preferable. I mean, like their area dodge trait, and then do this stuff, it's preferable. But for right now, they only take the damage, really. Given the fact all the area dodge monsters have some form of life sustain, either be a mask or, Wormlad has healing skills in general, this doesn't really matter. Like them being hit. I will say, despite this thing having area dodge, it still can be beaten by Wormlad. Wormlad has area life regen. He doesn't care about the DOTs. He heals literally anything this guy does. I guess he can keep he can keep the regen. Because, he's got it removes and then applies the buffs. So I wouldn't say this thing's a hard counter to Wormlad, but it's just good against everything else. Just take my word for it. Blind Cornice removes total life, 30% from one enemy. Applies total blind and guard down to all enemies. So this is obviously must have. You need this skill, trust me. Total blind is amazing because it's pretty much deny. And this is the deny skill. This was the skill I was saying why this thing could pretty much be a deny. You can 100% total blind someone, which means they are guaranteed their next attack. They have to pretty much do an extra turn, and given the fact this thing has anticipation, they are immediately punished with it. You could immediately do another skill, like maybe control immunity, or like, positive effects protection. You can immediately go for that. Let's say, for whatever reason, you get turn 1 and you're fighting Thalassa, you go for total blind, maybe she'll go for an extra turn trait disable or whatever have you. You can immediately remove that with, apply your positive effect protections, or you could start the game off with that. If Thalassa goes, she tries to do it on, you just keep it. It's great. Because that trait disable, I think that trait disable also removes positive effects. So you can actually still keep those positive effects. This is so many things you can do. That's how amazing this monster is. This monster is great. And then you're guaranteed to land all your skills too. Yeah, that's the benefit of guard down. And history be known that if the skill did 0 damage, it would, the effects consistently land. That just tells you the effects themselves kind of consistently land. So that's really good. So total blind and guard down is just complete ludicrousy. It's insane. So we're totally run blind corners. You should be running that. Handita removes 50% life from all enemies, plus nanovirus plus shock. So the enemy cannot do extra turns or get any buffs unless, again, it's an extra turn, remove pot negative, and then apply the buffs. Again, that's really tilting. But on that condition that they don't have that, they can't get goodies and they can't do extra turn skill. Well, they can still do them, but they don't get the extra turn. This ultimate's amazing. Crazy. So for skills real quick, run blind corners. Run DP226 Syndrome, run Super Light ER6N, and the very last skill should totally be 100% situational. That's what I truly think. Or unless you don't really care. Let's say you really don't care about the damage, like the 40%. Oh god, you should though. So much. This thing can kill with that. That's crazy. Yeah, if you're not into that, if you say you aren't into it like I am, I'm totally, dude. Like running these 3 skills, you will kill a monster without having to run damage. Crazy. And given this thing's self-sustain, you just have so much winning opportunity with it. It's just crazy. If you don't want to run, I will say if you don't want to run it, then you can run like the remove positive, negative, and then apply positive protection, or you can run anti-brutish system, or anything else. In all honesty, the last skill is kind of up to you, or can have 2 alternatives, and for sure you have to have blind corners, and you for sure have to have DP26 syndrome. It's just nice. Partners, real quick, you could slap anything on it and it's a great team. Like, this thing is so good. So crazy good. I've been just kind of saying this throughout this entire video, but it's just nuts. Because there's so many things you could do with it. Area dodge plus anticipation. You prevent any extra turn, initial play. You don't know how valuable that is. There was a monster called Bell Breath that started the game off with anticipation, but the real problem with her was all her plays were around, extra turns, and that means she was weak to anticipation monsters as well. This thing isn't really, because it doesn't really run on any extra turn skills. Its best skills aren't extra turn skills at all, and that's fantastic because it counters anything that was banking on you, kind of banking on extra turns too. So it's just great against it. It's amazing. It's great against Warmaster Ragnarok. It's great against the Lasha. I think this is good against honestly any of the Warmasters right now. It's crazy good. It's insane. Countering. How do you counter this thing? Literally anything with Pierce, Zizania, and the new upcoming magic monster, I think it was Devastia. Devasta. It's just amazing. Or it's the female Devastator monster who has Pierce skills on her attacks. Those are the only 2 that really counter him right now. Those are the big ones. Because beyond that, it's kind of hard to say because, again, this thing has anticipation at the beginning of the game. So you can't bank on that right away. It has to be a really long game at that point then, if you're going to have to deal with that. Plus, you can also be running healers. And this thing can also heal. It's just crazy. It's insane how good this thing is. So do I think this monster is must-have? Yes. You should totally get this monster. Is it that hard to, rank up and stuff like that? Kind of not. It kind of isn't, because with the Dragonian Beast method, I've actually had some electric drops as well, like nature electric monsters. So I want to say it's alright. It's not too hard. And then events, I always find that in events, I always get like garbage thunder monsters too. Garbage epic monsters, so you can always extract those for styles. But yeah, overall, I think this is fantastic. Another way to easily counter this thing, since it is a mechanical monster, this thing was cursed with being in winged and mechanical. 2 books have known haters in them. They have Board Jorg and they have Scrap Warrior. Just 2 monsters that completely pub stomp winged monsters to stop them in their tracks. Shoots them down quickly. I do believe Lady Solaris is also another monster that is super effective against winged. And then it's in the villain book. We don't have a villain hater yet, so it's not too big of a deal. But yeah, you, again, literally slap anything on it. I think anything that can apply like extra turn, like triple damage or anything like that, given the fact you can apply positive effects protection, pretty much guarantees the play. Like even if they get another turn in, they'd have to be running like a Wormlad, or like, and Wormlad doesn't even have anticipation. So that monster that gets the extra turn in has to be able to do something. If you have like a damage dealer, let's say you're running like, I don't know if Zizania had an extra turn damage boosting skill, but like literally anything, if the monster can't make a counter play, you're guaranteed to get that triple damage or the double damage off, and it's pretty much free damage. It's free absurd damage. It's crazy good. It's nice. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Dib the Awesome, and I'll catch you guys later.